Ministerial recommendation that the backbone be removed from beef before sale. Dole queues shorten as the jobless figure dips below the European average. Pat Gillan admits infidelity, denies attempting to have his wife murdered. And a trip down memory lane. President McAleese goes back to her roots. Good evening and welcome. The Minister for Health, Brian Cowan, has recommended that beef on the bone should be withdrawn from sale. In a statement tonight, the Minister said he wished to advise that no meat with backbone attached should be sold to shoppers until the issue was more fully investigated. His statement follows the decision by the authorities in Britain to ban the sale of beef on the bone there.
The Minister for Health tonight advised that butchers should remove the bones from certain cuts of beef before selling them. They include T-bone steak, rib roast and oxtail. He said there's very little risk, but he's giving this advice in order to reassure customers. The Minister is making this decision in the light of the recent findings of the UK's Advisory Committee on BSE. That committee found there was a very small risk that BSE may be transmitted in bone marrow. As a result, earlier this week, the British government banned the sale of beef on the bone. But Irish experts have made a clear distinction between the risk in Ireland and the risk in Britain. Ireland has far fewer cases of BSE, and its controls are among the most stringent in Europe. The risk of getting BSE from bone marrow is very low.
In Britain, they've got a much different problem with BSE than we have. They would encounter something like 300 to 400 cases of BSE each week. In this country, we see less than 2 cases a week. In this country, we've got very stringent controls where we, in fact, slaughter all of the herd where a case is found, and very extreme precautions are taken in meat factories.
This announcement from the Minister for Health reopens the controversy about BSE and the safety of eating beef. In a week in which Irish exporters have faced blockades at British ports, this is a double blow for the Irish food industry. Aileen O'Mara, RTE News.
Tony Blair has criticised farmers who have threatened to continue their blockade of beef imports at British ports over the weekend. Mr Blair said that while he understood their frustrations, the rule of law must be upheld. A delegation of Irish farmers held crisis talks today with the National Farmers Union of Wales.
It's now a daily ritual at Holyhead. A delegation of farmers enters the port to search Irish trucks for beef. Then they come back to report to their colleagues at the blockade. Looking on are the ICMSA's Frank Allen and Pat O'Rourke. They had arrived earlier this morning to try and reason with their Welsh counterparts and convince them to call off the blockade. The trouble is, it's the grassroots and not the farmers' unions who are in charge, and that makes it more difficult for negotiation.
It is quite clear here that it is the ordinary farmers that have sprung into action, demanding action, and they are going to make the final decision as to what's going to happen in this situation. There are risks involved in that insofar as it could become disorderly. It hasn't. It has worked very orderly up to now, but obviously how can you control people if there's not good leadership there?
We're not targeting the Irish, we're targeting input at the moment. And I'm pleased to say that this protest has now spread to the south of England ports. And again, I must stress that we are not trying to hurt the Irish farmer, but the farmers in this country are desperate.
British police have been stung by criticisms of their handling of the blockades. There have been reports of police showing protesting farmers documentation about what Irish truckers are carrying. In spite of conciliatory noises from the Welsh Secretary, Ron Davies, there is every sign the farmers are in for the long haul. And support is spreading. In Dover last night, 250 farmers set up a blockade. 2 people were arrested following scuffles as protesters tried to stop ferries. Kent Police said farmers left at 2 a.m. of their own accord after failing to stop any lorries getting through. It's difficult to see an early solution to this dispute. The British government is under pressure to act, the police are under pressure to take a tougher line, and the Welsh farmers are getting more support from their counterparts in Scotland and England. All the while, Irish truckers are having to go through the humiliating experience of having their trucks searched and, in some cases, the seals on their produce broken. There seems little hope for compromise.